My name is Donna Dalzell. Until about 6 years ago, I had a good life. A husband who was extremely doting and devoted. We had 4 children under the age of 5, so now have 4 20-somethings and into 30s. We had a good life. We had our bumps, like everybody does. But I'm thinking if you asked our friends, they would say, Donna and Donna have what it takes. That was until about 6 years ago. Then things started to fall apart. I had a husband who, until 6 years ago, was an athlete supreme. He owned his own business. He was a bank manager. He was a carpenter. He built us our cabin. And all of a sudden, things started going south. He was painting our cabin, painting the trim on our cabin, and I was doing whatever, and I came back in, and he had painted the entire screen door. One of those full ceiling to floor screen doors. It is all painted. And I said to Dawn, I guess I should have, I couldn't believe what he had done. So I said, what did you do? And he looked at me and he really didn't know that he had done anything wrong. I said, Dawn, it's a screen door. Breeze comes and goes through the screen. And he said, well, I was painting the trim. And in those days he could still talk. And I said, but it's the screen. And so he very calmly went and he got a pin and he started poking holes where the hole should be in the screen. I kept that door for about 3 years because Don was a capable, good-looking man. So anyone who sees him thinks he's a capable individual. He's not. He has frontotemporal dementia. I didn't know what that was. None of my friends knew what it was. My own doctor didn't know what that was. And at the age of 55, no one's expecting you to have dementia. I was telling my doctor different things that Don was doing. He was becoming verbally abusive. And you could tell my doctor looked at me like I had a couple of heads. Because in the meeting with the doctor, they'd say, Don, how are you feeling today? And Don would say, great. He still had inflection in his voice. And the doctor is thinking, something's wrong with Donna. Because Don is great. Because he just said he was great. After 2 years of this, after 2 years of painting the doors, of bottoming out a vehicle as you're driving in it because he doesn't know how to slow down, after eating off of people's plates, after putting bones on other people's plates, after urinating in public, finally we come down to Saskatoon and see the rural and remote memory team. Because finally, someone understood that something was wrong with my Dawn. When we came down here, I had quite a list of things. And I gave, I think it was 2 type pages to the doctors. And I said, maybe it's Alzheimer's. Maybe it's male menopause, I thought. Maybe it's a thyroid issue. I was going on, and you could tell that the team, after talking to us for 20 minutes, so it was my husband, myself and my daughter with a team of doctors. You could tell after 20 minutes, they darn well knew what it was, but there was a whole day of testing to go through. I'm still holding on to the thread that maybe it was something that could be treated. We'd already gone for an MRI, tumor was ruled out. I was disappointed it wasn't a tumor because I thought at least with a tumor you could have surgery. When the diagnosis came down that was FTD, my world crashed because I've been given a death sentence to my husband. My husband didn't know it was a death sentence. He was told he could no longer hunt. He could no longer drive. He could no longer be around grandchildren on his own. He took it all in stride. I am crying. My daughter is crying. He is saying, well, you had to tell me and I'll do what you say I need to do. His world, because Dawn's world is still fine, didn't collapse like mine did. This hideous disease took away my soulmate. It took away my lover. It took away our humor, our meaningful way of life, our retirement. In place, there is a childlike person, a shell of the person he once was. What do? I always thought I was a strong individual, and many of you who are living through something like this, you know what? We can only be so strong. 18 months I cried. I would get up in the morning and hate it, absolutely hate it. And so I would try to keep my husband in bed with me because I knew if I had him in bed, my day couldn't go too far off kilter. The minute he would get out of bed, the day would shift. Sometimes it would shift so badly, I would just take him right back to bed and we would try to watch movies the rest of the day. Our friends don't understand because he's a capable looking man. Like, he's a good looking man. If he had lost a limb, if he had any type of physical ailment, people would have respected that and they would have treated him as if he had an illness, an ailment. But because he doesn't have anything that's visible, people still expect him to do what is socially correct. He can't. He doesn't know how to do it. It was easier just to remove the two of us than to try to work through it. And in retrospect, when I look back, 2 years before the diagnosis, we had started removing ourselves from any type of social circle because of the excuses I had to keep coming up with. I just kept on swearing at my husband, saying, could you just shape up? And he'd say, what do you want me to do? And I said, be Dawn, that's all I want. I want you to be Dawn. He didn't know what be Dawn was because now that he's in the much later stages and he can't talk and he only plays with childlike toys, he thinks he's still Dawn. He doesn't think there's anything wrong with him. Society expects us to do things a certain way. Well, there isn't a certain way to do anything that has to do with frontotemporal dementia. It is a beast of a disease. It takes away your dignity. It takes away your life. So I felt I had to find something to give both Dawn and I meaning. If you think about it, when you're in a school, you get 300 stimuli daily. Anyone in my husband's situation gets about 40 stimuli daily. That's reducing stimuli by 87%. What would happen if my stimuli was reduced by 87%? The mind I have would regress. So what I learned to do is to make sure Dawn was engaged, but engaged with things he could be positive with and feel and find success with. And that was with games and toys. So that has been my salvation, figuring out how to deal with this boy-type man so that he can feel good about what he's doing and I can teach others how to make sure they feel good. Now I live with my childlike man, and as Winston Churchill says, kites rise against the wind, not with it. All of us who have loved ones who suffer from any type of dementia, there's lots of resistance because these people with dementia often look great. We have to fight and make sure they get the care they need because dementia is going to dwarf all other illnesses. If you can get it when you're 40, if you can get it when you're 50, you get it when you're 80, it's an illness none of us want our loved ones to get. So just everyone help us fight.